Morning Uganda Extra.
A lovely morning to you, and thank you very much for being with us on UBC TV. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Extra. I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyi Ntono. That is in case you've just joined us. Now today it's a Friday and I'm having a show, and this is a special show on Friday because usually I do not have shows on Fridays. But why? Because it's a very important topic that I'm going to be discussing this morning, and that is issues to do with deposit insurance and the mandate of the Deposit Protection Fund. Now, have you ever heard of that? We keep on transacting, we keep on depositing money in the bank, on mobile money, and you wonder what happens in case this bank closes. Let me use the word closes. But of course, the guests I have, you'll hear the terms they use. But for me, I'll use the ordinary terms. In case that bank closes, we've seen banks close. What happens to your money? How do you recover your money? Or does it close with the bank? So these and more are what we are going to be addressing with my guest this morning. I have Dr. Julia Claire Olima Oyet, who is the CEO of Deposit Protection Fund, with me. Doctor, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much, Robert, and good morning, viewers.
And at the extreme end, I have Patrick Ezaga, who is the Director of Communications at the Deposit Protection Fund. Ezaga, you're welcome.
Robert, thank you very much. It's always a very good pleasure to be back in the studios here to share with the audience.
And I'm also excited having both of you back in the studios to discuss this. Now let me begin with the CEO. When we talk about DPF, what is your mandate? And where do you drive your mandate from? Please.
Thank you very much, Robert. I think before I answer the question about what the DPF is and what mandate it holds, I would like to encourage my fellow Ugandans to be very cautious about the Ebola pandemic. Please obey the instructions that have been issued to us by the Ministry of Health so that we all remain safe, so that at the end of the day we're able to make money, deposit money, and the DPF comes in then to give you that protection. So Robert, back to the question, is that the DPF is an agency of the government of Uganda that was put in place to ensure that in that unlikely event your bank is closed by the Bank of Uganda, and the Bank of Uganda requests that the depositors are paid, it is the DPF that will be requested to pay the depositors. Why is this important? It's important because 98% of our depositors in the country hold less than 10 million shillings, which is the amount that we would pay. And so being able to pay that to the depositors ensures that the majority of the depositors get confident in the financial sector, and also the depositors then know that in that unlikely event they'll not go away empty-handed. But it's also important to note that the Bank of Uganda is not after closing banks. The Bank of Uganda does its supervision, it does its best. And when a bank starts facing challenges, they look at various options that are available to them. That includes purchase and assumptions, acquisitions. But when the worst comes to the worst, they would close the bank. But the depositors will not go away empty-handed. The DPF comes in to pay up to the 10 million shillings. And the good news is that we are at the process of trying to revise this limit and make it a little bit higher, but probably not too high because there are so many factors we have to take into account. So that's the DPF creating confidence in the depositors that they will always be paid up to the 10 million mark. The question is usually asked, what happens beyond the 10 million? Beyond the 10 million, you'll be paid by the liquidator, and in most cases, the liquidator is the Bank of Uganda. So you'll still just wait a bit and have the Bank of Uganda call you and pay you the rest of your money. Yes.
Now, before I go to Patrick, you mentioned 10 million. You're paid up to 10 million. One, we have a saying, time is money. How expeditious is this? And second, is it that whoever has money when the bank is liquidified gets 10 million?
Okay, so when a bank is closed for liquidation and we're supposed to pay, it depends on the balance you have. So if you have 2 million in your bank account, we'll pay you 2 million. If you have 15 million, we'll not pay you 15 million, we'll pay you 10 million. Yes. So that is how it works. And the other thing that you are asking about was?
How expeditious?
Oh yes, we do that very fast. The banks that were closed in the recent past, that was EFC and Mercantile, were able to start paying within an average period of 4 to 6 days. So that's how fast we are, but it depends on the collaboration we get from the depositors, because we need a lot of information from the depositors. For example, we would need your mobile money account so that we can pay that money to you. If we don't have that information, it becomes a bit harder and it takes a bit longer. And it's the reason why we're encouraging the depositors to ensure that their information is updated with their financial institutions. The financial institutions are working hard, and that is why they send messages to you, the depositors, every other day that update your information. It is for your own good. Yes.
Now, Patrick, why should clients be interested in the DPF? I bank my money. Why should I even care to know that you exist?
Thank you, Robert, and good morning, viewers, once again. I think it's important for citizens to know about the Deposit Protection Fund for about 2 or 3 reasons. Number one, as a good and a law-abiding citizen, you need to know the agencies of government that exist to provide services to you. So many people do not know about which government agencies exist to do what, and therefore frustration sets in when you have a challenge and you do not know where to go. So as a good and a law-abiding citizen, it's always very important for citizens to take interest in understanding what is the range of platforms that government has to provide services to the citizens. The second aspect is that depositors and the public need to know that if you keep your money in regulated financial institutions, like CEO has said, you will be protected. That is very important confidence building, because in the sphere of providing protection, so many people wonder why they should keep their money in regulated financial institutions. And so it becomes an added advantage knowing that there is actually an agency that can come on board to pay you should anything happen to your money. And thirdly, the financial sector, as it is a very delicate sector, and it thrives on public trust. It thrives on people believing that their monies are safe. So depositors and citizens need to know that as DPF we exist to contribute to that confidence, which translates to stability in the financial sector.
Now, Dr. Julia, this brings me also to ask, what are the contributing institutions? Because Patrick hinted on it. And how do I know that my financial institution is registered or I'm safe saving with it?
So a contributing institution is an institution that is licensed and regulated by the Bank of Uganda. So according to the law, once a Bank of Uganda has licensed and is regulating you, you become part of the deposit insurance system and you become a contributing institution. How do I know that my contributing institution falls under the DPF? One, when you visit your bank, look out for the license on the walls showing that it's licensed by the Bank of Uganda. But 2, you can also look at the website of the Bank of Uganda and see if your institution is there. 3, you can also check the DPF website and look out for your financial institution. If it is there, it is automatic that you're protected. If it's not there, then you better do more research on where your institution falls, who regulates it, and who provides protection.
Yeah. Patrick, when a bank is liquidified, who is covered by the DPF, and how do I know, how do I start to follow up?
Thank you, Robert. So who is covered? As mentioned, primarily it focuses on depositors who keep their money in regulated financial institutions. What we mean by that is these are institutions that are licensed and regulated by the central bank, the Bank of Uganda. So whoever is in that category of the regulated institutions is those who is covered. The deposit protection extends to that category. How do you get to know at the point of a closure? So what happens is that every financial institution is required, and I'm sure the viewers out there who have accounts know that when you go to the bank to open an account, they collect information about you. So every bank has information about the depositors, and this is one of our strong points of appeal to depositors, that over time some of your personal information can change. So we encourage depositors to ensure that at any one time their personal data, their personal information is up to date. When the time comes, at the time of closure or a payout, it is that information that is critical for us, because the banks share that information with us regularly. So at any one time we have current information about you and the depositors out there. And so with the information that is shared with us in terms of their NIN, their telephone numbers, their emails, whatever data that they fill in those forms or they have provided to the financial institutions is our starting point. We then actually, upon pronouncement of a closure, we reach out to the depositors through various channels. We come to UBC, make such announcements, we go to the radios, we use emails, we make phone calls. So it becomes very critical that a depositor must have correct and up-to-date information so that we can easily reach out to you should anything happen. Yeah.
Now, rightly reaching out to you, Dr. Julia, why do you give up to 10 million? And broadly expound on if there are plans and how far to increase this. I just look at having my 500 million in any bank I won't mention, and then it's liquidified, and all I can get is 10 million and wait for a long process. Why 10 million?
Robert, first of all, the process is not long. I think Patrick has explained that if we have the information, it's a short time and you'll get your
For you
money.
to give me my 10 million,
yes, to get
out
give
of the 500.
Million. Yes.
But remember the other 4 plus.
90.
Okay, you'd have to wait for liquidation. So now, what is important to note is that at the 10 million, we consider it sufficient, because at the 10 million, we're covering 98% of all the depositors in the country, which means that if you have 500 million, you're in the 2%, that's the minority. Now, deposit insurance was put in place to protect the majority, the Abantu Bawansi. Now, you who has above that, you expect to be more enlightened. You remember that the banks are not expected to fail, all of them. Right now we have 31 banks. We're not expecting that one day we shall wake up and all the 31 banks have closed. Not at all. But you can't rule out 1 or 2 that might be struggling. And that is where you, who is enlightened, who has more money, has to be cautious about where you're putting that money. Don't bank without thinking. And I keep explaining to the public that it is the same way as your child. You don't just take your child to any school. You first do an analysis. How does this school perform? Can I afford it? There are a lot of thoughts that you put in before taking your child to school. It is the same way for you who has more than the 10 million. Be conscious about where you're putting your money. Don't just deposit without thinking through carefully. So why the 10 million? 10 million, apart from it being adequate and covering 98% of our depositors, it is also what we can afford. Because we can't say we're going to give you protection of 100 million and when a bank is closed, we don't have the money. It is going to create a lot of destabilization in the financial sector. The other thing is, as we're looking at the limit, we have to compare with what the other players in the region also have. So at our 10 million, we are comparable to the East African region. If we put our limit to, again, 100 million and say very high, you'll find we start destabilizing the financial sectors of our neighbors, because people prefer to put their money in Uganda because they'll say the protection there is higher. So as we're looking at increasing or determining the insurance limit, there are a lot of factors that we have to really consider, but most importantly is to cover the majority, which we are doing. And if we want to increase, we do so steadily to be sure that we can still pay without causing taxpayers to pay money, so that we pay from what we have instead of borrowing from government to pay. Yeah.
Now, relatedly, last year we saw 2 banks close. Yes. Please share a bit of actions you rolled out and maybe also lessons learned.
So yes, when those banks were closed, we quickly moved into action. One of the first things we did was to announce to the public that they should remain calm and that we are taking charge of the process of paying their money. We encouraged the depositors who haven't updated information with their financial institutions to get it ready, because we were going to start receiving that information. So one of the first things that we do is get in touch with the Bank of Uganda. The Bank of Uganda gives us all the list of all the depositors in that bank, and also gives us the balances. We use that to process and determine your protected limit. Patrick or me might say later that when you have, let's say, 10 million shillings in the bank, and you have a loan of, let's say, 5 million shillings, we shall offset the loan of 5 million and pay you 10 million. So we have to go through that process of processing your balances to see how much you are entitled to in line with the law. Once we have that information, we now start the process of verifying all the depositors, because we don't want to pay the wrong depositor the money that should have been paid to the right depositor. And so we go through a process of verifying your NINs, verifying your telephone numbers, verifying your alternative bank accounts, if you've given us an alternative bank account. And with that, we start releasing the money. Usually we start with the mobile money holders, they're the lower balances, and then we go into also paying the banks. But of course, these are processes that we want to keep doing faster, so that the depositors don't panic. And indeed, you will recall that there was no panic in the public when those banks were closed. It was handled very smoothly. The coordination between the DPF and Bank of Uganda paramount. We handled the smaller depositors, and they are handling the bigger depositors. So we really swing into action. We have sleepless nights. For us, it is like Ebola. Once we hear a bank is closed, it's a crisis for us. Everybody stops doing other things and focuses on paying you, the depositor.
Yes, Patrick, you wanted to supplement?
Well, just to supplement a little bit on what the CEO has said, that from the perspective of the lessons learned, two issues emerged. One is that naturally, you know, Robert, the level of panic that happens in such a situation is very high. And if that panic is not controlled, it can escalate. So one of the things we learned was getting into direct contact with the depositors through their leadership structure. Because most of the depositors of those banks were actually having proper leadership structures. The consistent engagement that we were rolled out with them was very useful for suppressing any potential, you know, emergence of a righteous situation and the rest. But the other thing that also came out, and this is very important for emphasis, is that there are those who, for some reason, did not have up-to-date records. So those whose records were up-to-date, as mentioned, the moment we took the decision to start paying out with the smaller ones, people started receiving money in their phones. And you should have been there to see the excitement. Is this really a government institution? They are paying within 1 week? So that alone created a lot of confidence. But as I speak, we still have, unfortunately, a few whose records were not up to date. And we're still actually looking out for them. We're appealing to those who were depositors of EFC and Mercantile Credit Bank, who, for some reason, we have not been able to reach them. Various reasons. Change of telephone number, they're probably out of the country, next of kin is not clear. So there is a contact blackout. And so we have a small percentage of those whom we have not paid. And that for us was a critical lesson. And that's why we keep emphasizing keeping up-to-date records by depositors.
Well, I'm still with the Deposit Protection Fund, the CEO and the Director of Communications. I'll now go for a short break and I'll return still discussing the same.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
It's our mission to secure your money.
Protecting your money is as important as earning it. It is for this reason that the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda, DPF, was established by the government of Uganda to provide deposit protection to customers of regulated financial institutions. In the unlikely event that your commercial bank, credit institution or microfinance deposit-taking institution fails, the DPF will pay you up to 10 million Uganda shillings. Keep your personal information such as national identification number, mobile phone or an alternative bank account updated with your banker. Terms and conditions apply. For more information, contact DPF at Aha Towers, Plot 7 Lodell Road, Kampala. Call 0312-206-400 or visit our website at www.dpf.or.ug.
We are the DPF. We protect your money. Protection Fund of Uganda.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that break and thank you so much for being with us on UBC TV. We are still with a Deposit Protection Fund that is mandated to protect your monies in regulated financial institutions regulated by the Bank of Uganda. And in case the bank is closed, they will give you up to a tune of 10 million. Now, not everybody who has money there, you must have the money that is 10 million and above. Not to just wake up and say, luck has swung my way, the bank, Crane Bank has closed, I had an account there, I'm going to get 10 million. Watch it. You won't get it. You must have had 10 million plus. Now, Patrick, I want to ask something I know that is very interesting. Now, I have a loan with this bank, and by the grace of the Lord, it closes. What happens next? Am I free to celebrate, or am I obliged to complete my loan payment? Yet, the bank is no more.
Robert, there are two things. The moment you start celebrating is an indication that when you are borrowing, you are not a good borrower. Because you borrow with the intention of repayment.
You borrow with the pain. No one wants a debt by the time you go to borrow.
And true that. But also pain is good, because life is pain itself. To succeed, you must go through some pain.
If they pardon big countries and the nations
so
of
the point is that if you celebrate, then number one, your original intention, you are looking for any opportunity to dodge repayment. But a good person knows that when you go to borrow, you have the obligation to repay.
Yes.
And so if a financial institution is closed and you had a loan with it, as the CEO mentioned, and you have actually referred to it before as well, that what you owed the institution has to be recovered. It is the institution that has closed. The loan remains very much alive. It doesn't die with the institution. So if you had, let's say, 5 million, remember, when an institution is closed, the central bank or the regulator appoints a liquidator, the one you mentioned earlier. And the liquidator is really this either agency or the organization or the bank itself that manages the close-out process smoothly, so that the bank that is closed exits smoothly. But it has assets. It has loans that people, the type you're referring to. So this is where Deposit Protection Fund plays a very critical role in supporting the liquidation process, so that where there are loans out there, we recover and pass it on to the liquidator. Because remember, CEO mentioned that those who have 10 million and above are paid from the proceeds of the liquidation process. What are those proceeds? These are the collections that the liquidator gets, recovering the monies of the closed institution. So the institution closes, but the loan stays alive. Now, that is if the loan is less than 10 million. It is possible that your loan was, let's say, 20 million by the time of the closure. In such a situation, I think it is automatic. You and me know that the best we'll do is get in touch with you for a handshake to remind you that your 10 million is going to be offset, used to offset the 20. Then you still have an obligation to reach out to the liquidator to pay the balance. Like in the case of the two banks we were talking about, such category of people, the central bank opened out a desk and continued handling cases of those who are repaying their loans and so on and so forth. So collapse or closure of a financial institution does not translate into the loan disappearing with it. You're not happy.
Please, members of our public, before you get a loan, know there is no way you're going to get out of that but to pay. Even if a bank is closed, you'll have to pay that money. Don't jubilate, don't thank God or your gods. You'll have to pay that money. Now, Dr. Julia, what have been some of the outstanding challenges that the Deposit Protection Fund has faced while executing its duty of paying us when banks are closed?
Robert, I think my colleague had hinted on that. The major challenge that we face when we're trying to pay the depositors is information. When we don't have this information, it is very difficult for us to pay. The other thing is that the feedback we get from the banks is that when they're asking depositors to give information, the depositors are suspicious. Is that information going to be used for URA? What do you need that information for? But the banks are very clear, and they indicate that it's the Deposit Protection Fund that needs that information. And that's why we'll keep appealing to you, the depositors, give that information to your bankers so that we can be able to pay. I think that is the major challenge that we have when we're paying depositors. But probably the other challenge that we have generally as a country is where we still have people who have decided to keep their money outside the formal financial sector, keeping it in their buckets, in pots, under their mattresses. That's another challenge for us as a country. Because we provide this protection up to 10 million, we have gone through the whole country trying to explain this, but the public is taking a bit longer to appreciate. But that is our mandate, and we shall continue doing it. But we're also happy to say that over the last 10 years, since the DPF has been there, or 8 years, we have seen deposits growing, and we believe that a few people are listening to the message and putting their money in regulated financial institutions. So while there are challenges, we also see the impact that the DPF has had on the financial sector, ultimately on the entire economy. Yes.
Now, Patrick,
Yeah.
I know you wanted to supplement.
Yes.
Let me put this also to you. What happens if I have more than one account or a joint account?
No.
I could have an account with Madam or with a colleague, and now time to pay us.
All right, just a quick supplement on the earlier issue first, in terms of some of this is a subtle one. It's not really complicated. It's a matter of misconception. You see, out there, Robert, I don't know whether it comes from our name or something, deposit protection. So we have noted over time that when depositors find challenges with their banks, you know, you have had cases where their balances don't seem to be correct and so on and so forth. We have had cases where people have run to us for protection. Because the name says deposit protection, indeed. But I think it is important for the depositors to know that that would go beyond our mandates. The aspects of any financial issues with accounts and so on are handled by the regulator, the central bank. So there is a whole division that manages those depositor kind of complaints. We don't reject the complaints, but the best we can do is lead them to the right place where they can be supported because of the close relationship we have with the central bank. So coming to the questions you're asking about the deposits, right? You have more than an account. So first off, we usually pay per depositor per institution. What does that mean? It means, Robert, if you have an individual account, you are seen as one depositor. That is one deposit account, so to speak. Okay? But if Robert and Patrick have a joint account, that joint account is seen as another depositor. So at the time of payout, if you have your individual account within the same institution, you are considered as a depositor. We apply the protected limit to you. Now, if you have a joint account with your wife, like you've said, you and your wife are seen as one depositor. It's a one deposit account, so to speak. And therefore, you will also receive payment for that. How you share it with your wife depends on how the relationship has been going and how you started off. But in actual sense, in such a case, you would be paid twice. Once for your individual account, because you're one depositor, and then the joint account is also seen as a separate deposit account within the same institution. But there can be scenarios where you have your individual accounts in different financial institutions, different contributing institutions. I think that scenario is different. Like CEO said, it's really very difficult to find 2, 3, 4 of your banks where you're keeping your account all closing at the same time. So depositors need to realize that it doesn't matter the number of people in the joint account. You know, joint accounts can have 2, 3, 4, 5 people. That is all seen as one deposit account. Yeah.
Maybe just to also supplement, if you, as Robert, have a current account, a savings account, a fixed deposits account, we amalgamate all that and then give you up to the 10 million. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, there's a term I usually hear, that is a bank run. I usually hear as banks are beginning to stagger, you know, you hear there's a bank run, a bank run. Now, Dr. Julia, help us understand, what does this term mean?
Okay. So a bank run is a situation where you find depositors running to the bank. So you find depositors suddenly decide they need to withdraw all their money this morning because they had a rumor that that bank on social media, on TikTok. So once the depositors start all running to the bank, it becomes difficult for the bank. Why? Because the bank doesn't expect all the depositors to come one morning to receive their money. Remember, the way the banks operate is they receive the deposit and they lend out that money to you. We talked about loans. Where does the bank receive the money that they're going to give you in loans? They receive that money from the deposits that the depositors gave you. So once the depositors decide to say, and all of them decide to say, today I must get my money, do or die, the bank is going to be challenged. And so that is why we say the depositors should avoid listening to rumors, because those rumors can result in the bank facing challenges. And if it is not handled very well with the central bank and the bank itself, a bank can collapse. And at the end of the day, we shall all be affected.
But
So
now,
please.
how do you control that? If I've had news that a bank is going to collapse, how do you control me not running to withdraw my money?
So we usually advise the public that listen to the Bank of Uganda. Don't listen to the rumors, because the Bank of Uganda usually comes out to say banks are stable. And there have been cases in the past where those rumors have been meandering, and the governor will always say the bank is stable. And once that is announced, the depositors become calm and the banks continue operating. So first of all, apart from what Bank of Uganda says, know your bank. Look at its financials, so that when you hear that your bank is failing, you can wonder, how, when I see the performance is good, how can it be? That's a rumor. Yes.
Now, Patrick, there are some of us who have dollar accounts and accounts in other currencies. Now, in case of closure of a bank, how do you handle me? Because I have serious accounts. Your 10 million,
You
please.
have serious dollar-denominated accounts. Okay.
All right. So you remember one of the first questions you asked me earlier was, why should people be interested in knowing about DPF? And I did mention that DPF is an agency of a sovereign state. And as a sovereign state, as a nation, we have our currency, which is the Uganda shilling. So in case you have a foreign denominated, let's call it foreign denominated account, it could be the dollar, the pound, or whichever other currency, as long as it is official. What would happen is we first convert your USD or whatever currency into Uganda shillings. We use the exchange rate that was going or existing the day before the financial institution is closed. So we first convert that foreign currency into our local currency, and then we apply the 10 million limit, and we pay you the equivalent.
Okay.
So you don't lose. You'll always get your money.
But please remember, like we've said earlier, I mean, I see where you're coming from. When you translate some foreign currencies to local currency, you expect a lot. But remember that our mandate stops at 10 million. But the liquidation process will still kick in to handle any other difference for you. Yes, it's not. So at the point of liquidation, that dollar account or the foreign currency account you had, whatever balance was there, will still be seen, and the regulator will treat it accordingly. As mentioned by the CEO, the whole intention of deposit insurance globally actually is that a depositor should really not lose out entirely. Primarily the bottom of the pyramid first, what we call the less sophisticated, as a core mandate for in terms of protection, because of the expectation that if a financial institution closes, the net impact on them to some of these people is way higher. They are not multi-banked, probably like you and me. All their eggs are in one basket. Whatever little capital they have is in that account, and so on and so forth. That's why they are considered a bit more vulnerable. But you who has 500 million and above, you are probably financially literate. Most likely you're even hiring maybe somebody to manage your books, and so on and so forth. You are maybe multi-banked as well. So in terms of impact, between the two, you can see who would really deserve the protection much more.
Now, Dr. Julia, many of us use mobile money, and we keep there our monies, and sometimes some good money is there. Now, does the Deposit Protection Fund extend its mandate that also my money on my mobile money is catered for, or then it is to who it may concern?
So thank you, Robert. The money that you keep on your mobile money is not to whom it may concern. It concerns the government of Uganda. And indeed, the government of Uganda has put in place a National Payments Systems Act. That act says that that mobile money is regulated, licensed and regulated by the Bank of Uganda. So it's not to whom it may concern. And also, that act provides for a mechanism where a mobile money holder is actually protected, not by the Deposit Protection Fund, but by that mechanism. And what that mechanism says is that all that mobile money, you know, every virtual shilling that you have is supported by a shilling in the bank. So the law says that shilling that is in the bank cannot be invested in loans or buildings. It must be invested in treasury bills and bonds, which can easily be liquidated to get money to pay you, the mobile money holders. So mobile money holders should continue using the service, and the government really looks at their protection.
Very interesting, knowing that they're also catered for. Now, Patrick, you've talked of the liquidation.
Yeah.
Please hint more on this process, because I know that Deposit Protection Fund will clear me very soon. But now this process of recovering assets, this and that, please, a little bit on it.
Oh, so liquidation, Robert, is a terminology in the financial space. But what it simply means is that, okay, let's say it's not even the central bank. A financial institution X is closed. The regulator comes up and says, okay, this apple can no longer continue surviving in the space because, you know, one bad apple can spoil the whole tree. So it manages the exit neatly. Now, liquidation is just one of the processes of how to manage that exit. If it is the central bank itself that is the liquidator, it simply means that it is now coming out to look out for how to close out the exit neatly in terms of if there are any obligations the closed institution had, if there are things that were owed to it in terms of loans, how do we then sell off whatever assets that are left and so on and so forth. There are shareholders, so there is a lot of issues to manage in that liquidation process. And it is in that process that the discussion arises that should there be any recoveries that are made from that liquidation process, the first priority is to focus on the depositors who had above 10 million to try and see how to clear off their balances. Because in all fairness, why would you then want to first refund, let's say, shareholders or some of the people who are responsible for the financial institution going down when they are depositors who had more than 10 million and they're actually supporting you by giving their money to you in trust? So it's simply the mechanism of ensuring that the wrap-up and the closure of an institution is neatly done and every stakeholder group is taken care of. Yeah.
Now this brings me also to a question disturbing my mind. You people, you have the money to pay us up to 10 million when banks close. But how are you funded, Doctor?
It's a good question. Where do we get the money from? Are we getting money from your taxes? No.
That's the question.
The good news is we get this money from the banks. They pay us premiums every year. When we get this money, we don't keep it idle. We invest it. And what do we invest it in? We invest in treasury bills, treasury bonds. Why? Because these are safe, because they're issued by our own government, so they're safe. Two, we can easily sell them, liquidate in case a bank is closed. So that is where the DPF is funded, and I would like to give confidence to the depositors that we have the money to be able to pay. No one should fear that the DPF, they talk about 10 million, and when a bank is closed, we are not sure if they'll pay. We have the money to pay, we have paid before, and we shall also pay in future. And also the public should note that this money is kept by a credible team. We have a credible board of directors. We have a credible senior management team. And I'm happy to report that since we started the fund in 2017, we have never lost a shilling, even in fraud. So the money is kept safe, the governance structures are strong, and that is the confidence that we need the depositors to have in the Deposit Protection Fund.
Patrick, do depositors have to make any contribution or payment to the Deposit Protection Fund?
The outright answer to that, Robert, is a no. The way it works is that you, a depositor, you take your money to an institution, Bank X. It is that Bank X that then calculates a premium and pays to the DPF. So if anybody came to you to say, this fee is for DPF which we are collecting, that is an outright lie, bring it to our attention. Depositors do not pay any money to the Deposit Protection Fund directly. But should anything happen, Deposit Protection Fund will come out 100% to protect them.
Now, Dr. Julia, where do I get credible information about my financial institution?
Okay. And that's a very good question, because we've been saying, know your bank, know your bank. So how should I know about my bank? Yes. So every year, the Bank of Uganda makes sure that the contributing institutions publish their financial statements in the media. And I think you will see around April, you start seeing financial statements being issued in the papers. It is not for fun. It is for you. Especially you who has 500 million, but we shall cross-check if it's 500 million. But anyway, especially for you who have more than the 10 million, take advantage of that information. Now the thing is, people can say, but I'm not an accountant, how do I understand? But surely around your ecosystem, there'll be someone who can be able to do a very simple analysis for you. So that is one of the areas where you get credible information. The websites also of these institutions have credible information. And of course, listening to the people who are mandated to manage these institutions is also very important. If the governor says that the institution is sound and stable, listen to him, because he's the one in charge of the institution. Do not listen to the other person who is looking for followers, because now we want followers in order to make money. That is, they have a selfish motive. Listen to the people who have the mandate to take charge of the financial sector. Yes.
And Robert, if all that fails, the banks exist to serve clients. Walk to the financial institution, their customer service people, their relationship managers. Tell them, this financial statement I don't understand, break it down for me in layman's language. It is not illegal to walk to the bank to ask for information.
Well, I would have loved to have more time and ask quite more questions, because these are matters of money and safety of our money. But time can't let me go any further. I just have to give each of my guests a minute or two for their final word, beginning with Patrick.
Thank you very much, Robert. As Director of Communications, my interest focuses on awareness. I think I would like to, one, encourage that depositors really keep your information up to date. Secondly, as the Deposit Protection Fund, we are coming out through various media channels to enable you to be aware that we exist. So should you get any alternative information, please seek the correct version, reach out to us, confirm. Do not listen to rumors, because rumors can actually bring down an institution. I thank you very much. And
Dr. Julia, as we move out of here.
Okay. As I move up, I would like to thank you, the viewers, for sitting in and listening. The major point that I want to share is start knowing your bank. Know your financial institution. Don't bank without understanding where you're banking your money. Of course, the final message to all of you is keep safe. Ebola is real. Protect yourselves as we protect your money. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Julia and Patrick, for your time. And of course, above all, my bosses, you the viewer, thank you so much for being with us all the way from 6:30 till now. It is a weekend, and I know there's so much socialization, but be mindful of Ebola. Please, please don't forget the standard operating procedures that we had during COVID-19. God bless you. Excited to see you on Monday. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.